And I think that's kind of the problem with society today, right? Is you've taken away of all these challenges. You've taken away not the ability, like what we've done is we've made everybody a winner, and we've taken away the opportunities to lose, right? The opportunities to fail. And those are the opportunities where people get better. It's not in the wins where anybody's getting better, right? And that's the problem is when you win more than you lose in life, you don't appreciate winning and you don't respect losing, right? And that's a hard thing, and that's what we've done to society.
How do we get to that place, do you think?
Weak men. Every problem on the face of the planet is because of a weak man. Every problem.
What is a weak man?
Somebody not of character, somebody who's not willing to, who's not grounded and they're just not grounded in fundamentals, right? Like they're not fundamentally based. They don't even know their fundamentals, right? Like, the most dangerous man is a weak man. That's the most dangerous man, right? And I go back to every problem is, men have gotten to the point to where, they want to be appreciated. They do shit that is instant gratification, and they want to be appreciated. Like being a man, like you ain't gonna be appreciated. Like you shouldn't do it to be appreciated. You should do it because it's your fucking job, right? Your job is to be strong. Your job is to be disciplined. Your job is to protect. Your job is to provide. Like, why would God or whatever made us, right? You can argue that all day, right? We don't have to go down that scenario, but why would we be built bigger, stronger, to be weaker, right? Like we're built to fight, to be strong, to protect, and not to be appreciated. And this whole idea is, and that's the problem is you go back to it, weak men. Every issue in the world, I can go back to weak men.
Have you ever noticed any time in your own life when you would, looking back on it, characterize yourself as a weak man?
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I was probably the weakest man ever, right? I was a victim. Like men are like, as a man, you are not a victim. Like, I got out of the Marine Corps and just, not just feeling sorry for myself, walking around and thinking I'd had it harder than everybody else, drinking, spending my time, not doing good shit, right? Like, just terrible, man. Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard too for somebody to call you out on that, because in many respects it did look like you had it harder than most people who served or went overseas.
But that's the problem, right? Like the problem, and I thought about this the other day. I wrote it down and just I was working out. The problem is that everybody thinks that and they've got this like tag word, trauma, right? Whatever, let's call it obstacles, right? I think the word trauma is so stupid. Unless you're bleeding out, it's not trauma. And, but I think that everybody thinks that the obstacles that they've been dealt is what makes them unique, and it's not. You haven't faced anything that somebody hasn't faced worse than you. I haven't faced, and I'm not saying it's not significant, but what I'm saying is none of us have had an obstacle that somebody else has not already been through. It's just facts, right? And, what makes us unique is our comeback, what we do after that. See, everybody wants their identity to be PTSD. I got PT. Everybody talks about how you and every other motherfucker walking on the earth. PTSD is LIFE, baby. Right? And it's like, but it becomes the identity. And when that becomes your identity, you don't want to get better and get rid of it. Right? Like the comeback is where it's at. You know what I mean? And that was me, man. I used to walk around and I blamed everything on PTSD. Everything, right? I was fat and out of shape. Well, PTSD. I was drinking every day. Well, PTSD. I was an asshole. I mean, I'm still an asshole, but like not as much, right? PTSD, right? Like everything I did, I blamed it on PTSD. It's like an easy out. And like you said, if I yell PTSD, you're not going to challenge me on it.
So Big Mike picks you up from the airport.
Yeah.
And drives 5 hours to do so because of a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that that situation, the people around you, like, had such care for you, but enabled PTSD in some respect.
Yeah.
What could they have done better?
I think my dad my dad of all people tried to do it. He was one of the ones that, my dad does not take any shit, right? Like my dad's not an emotional human being. Like he's a very logical person, right? And so he tried, but you got the world enabling you. It's my dad doing this and the world enabling me. Right? And think about this, man. Like people were looking at me saying, gosh, I couldn't imagine what you've gone through. They would justify everything. And the shit that I was doing was, it's just embarrassing, right? And so, what we have came down to, and what I believed it would have been better is, look, I don't need people around me that tell me what I want to hear. I need people to tell me what I need to hear, right? And when you talk about what true love is, right, everything comes down to love. Whatever you love, you're going to go all in for. And what we have, really this is the most selfish concept that people can have, is when I'm not willing to risk you liking me, like you rely on me to be your friend. Like I think titles are important, right? Friends, brothers, sisters, whatever, right? Family, all these titles come with responsibilities. And if I'm your friend and you think I've got your back, it is a disgrace for me to not be willing to compromise you liking me and telling you and just telling you what you want to hear instead of telling you what you need to hear, and you might not like me. Like true love is I'm willing to risk you liking me and you being upset at me in order to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah. That
is what brotherhood is.
What was the first time that someone did that for you?
Man, there were quite a few people that tried, right? There were quite a few people that tried. But I'll tell you, probably the biggest eye opener to me is, Tim Kennedy. Tim, I came in the gym one day and I was in it. Like I was going through a divorce and like it was just terrible. And it was probably the worst time of my life. And I come in the gym one day and we were in sets or something. And I kind of look over at Tim and I'm kind of complaining about, man, this is all messed up. Can't believe, like just really the woe is me. And Tim looked over at me and he's like, man, when you walk in a room, people look at you like you're a warrior. He goes, so you need to fucking act like one. And, that might not sound significant on this podcast, but like to me in that moment, like those words, did they feel good? Like, absolutely not. But did I need to hear that? Like, I still hear that. It still echoes through my head, right? Whenever I start getting in those, oh man, I'm tired today because I've been traveling or whatever, right? It's like, no. You need to be what you say you are.